Welcome back to the Inner Core Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are talking Kevin Samuels on why women, modern day women, can't handle high value men. I haven't seen this particular clip, but he breaks it down. So let's go ahead and check it out and see what he's talking about.
Don't be surprised if you start seeing me pop up here, there, TV, movies, commercials. You just never know. Never know. But here's the important thing. But the main thing is the mission. So on my story I posted today, Brother Dennis Sterling, and he posted that he was a single father. He was a single father out here getting it done, and he had been doing this thing for 10 years because he had a. I'm a PhD. I don't need a cookbook. You know, he had one of them things because she had to go ahead and execute order 66. So brother man had to do what he had to do, and he decided to go do what a lot of guys do. Just raise his kid on his own, and he was on his way out of the country. That brother was on his way to move to the Dominican Republic with his boys. But I convinced him to join my Facebook group, The Mix. And in under a week, he met his fiance, his new woman. So, but here's the funny thing. I began to notice that I hear more men say that women who are educated, who claim to want these higher value men, these men that are on their level, okay? These men that are, these men that are on their level and all that other kind of stuff. What a lot of guys are starting to tell me in the last 6 months is, man, I went out with this woman. She had an MBA. She had her master's. She had her bachelor's. Here's the badges, man. You know what the problem is? On paper, everything should line up, but what's the problem? Boy, they be acting a fool out here with these whips, boy. It's like as soon as I start live streaming, that's when they start. Dudes is like, hey man, she's used to dating down. I'm like, what do you mean? She's used to dating guys that she grew up with, people from her neighborhood. And when I'm dating this woman who we're academically and all this stuff linked, it's like a lot of brothers are saying these educated women don't want educated men. And at first, women would say there were no men on their level, right? But now you got 2.5 million brothers that are in the upper class. 54% of black men are single and childless, 61% in the middle class. Brothers are doing okay in this country. But I'm starting to hear this whole, because now they got to move the goalposts. First, it wasn't enough black men because you're all down low in jail or down low in jail or some otherwise unqualified, right? Now, what it is the guys who are educated, accomplished, and here's the thing, there's an education, there's a formal education, and then there's somebody who actually becomes self-educated, self-taught. And those guys actually tend to have applied knowledge. But what you start to realize, especially here in Atlanta, I see more educated women who cannot deal with being around educated men. And I was like, well, what's the problem? You would think it would be a natural match, but it's about power. A lot of these women want to feel superior to men. Now, this is an issue in the West to where manhood, masculinity, manhood, that kind of stuff is cheap, but we're supposed to deify women. So I need you guys to understand that this is not just about an intimidation. It's the thing that women want to feel better than men. And if you are smarter than they are, they can't handle it. trailer park dudes or Madden Kings or Pookie. Every culture has their version of the guy who's just a dude that ain't doing nothing. And you should always wonder, why would these chicks go get their masters, their PhDs, and end up dating a dude that's, ain't really doing nothing because they feel smarter than him. A lot of these women don't want men who can not only do they not want men who can challenge them, they don't want men who can best them. Let me explain. My show, when it first got started, I had a lot of women who would call in who would be younger, less educated, whatever, and they're used to being able to fire off their talking points and kind of win an argument with guys that they're used to. But when a man actually picked up a book and is read and is current, don't like it because it's about being superior to a man. What's going on with this, ladies? Let's talk about it. Because you get mad when you see brothers with a law degree or a surgeon or a pilot or a man who owns his own logistics company or some guy who's tech savvy and he's well read and everything else, and you get mad when they decide to pick Maria, Marisol, Marlene, and Jamila. I've started to see more women who cannot coexist with men who are smarter than them. And you look at their dating history, and it'll tell you, look, people are not what we say. We are what we do. Look at a woman's dating history. And if she is up here academically or scholastically, and the guys she's dated are down here, what's that tell you? Why are you up here and the guys you're dealing with are, and here's the thing, I don't want to make this about high school or college, but we know when some guys are just dumb, just meatheads, just happy to be doing what they're doing. And again, this is not about money. This is about class. See, many men can have money, but have not elevated to the next social class. Most women want to be with men of a higher class all the way around. But why do our women who have elevated to a certain social class always seem to get guys who are beneath them? Because it's about superiority. But maybe I'm wrong. So what I'm doing this year is I'm talking to people around the country, women around the country, men around the country, and in particular women who are womanists, feminists, self-love. And I want to help me understand where I'm missing, because I am so tired of seeing equally yoked other groups and so many of our women unmarried. Because tomorrow when I talk about the great resignation, the great global reset, I want you to fast forward. 22 million jobs quit in the last 4 months. The great she-cession. American women are leaving the workforce in record numbers, never to return. But the only way that they're doing that is because they're going home to their husbands or their significant relationship. And a man who has the ability to provide for her, him, and everything else. That means a man who tends to be confident, intelligent, and assertive, an educated man who's out here grinding. It's not a guy who's just getting by. So what am I saying? Ladies, you can have your PhD.
I'm a PhD.
You can have your master's. You can be a realtor or an attorney or a physician or a marketing or this or that. But the workforce in the next 5 years, think about what happens is women of all colors start to leave the workforce, go home to work a home-based business, focus on family building. They're building family, network, generational wealth. Who is going to be left in the workplace? Men of all stripes. And what are the women that are going to be left there. The women that are going to be left are going to be the single, unmarried women. Who are the most single, unmarried women? So what are they doing now? They're starting to offer people 10% raises to stay. 10% raises to stay. You had a job doing XYZ last year and we didn't give you a raise, but now we want to offer you a 10% raise just to stay. Well, understand something. Inflation has already gone up 7%. Just living last year cost 7% more. Utilities, gas, everything else. In New York and California, it's 7% more expensive. And that's not including the cost of living adjustment of 3%. If you've been on your job for 3 years and you've never had a raise, you're already making about 10% less from day one. So if they give you a 10% raise, they're just catching you up for all the money they've been pimping you from. Ladies, Black women in particular, why can't you deal with a Black man who's smarter than you? Who is superior to you, not equally yoked. See, we always hear about the men you don't want. I'm talking about the men who are smarter than you and have the results to show it. You can't bounce around them, use shame, insults, guilt, and need to be right. You can't baffle them with bullshit. No, they know their shit. If you're a smart man, you know exactly what I mean. But they see there's a lot of, you know what I mean. You know how many women are like, oh no, what's wrong with him? Girl, he's arrogant. Arrogant. That's what they keep saying. A brother like that is arrogant or full of himself. But then when that arrogant coding guy or that arrogant logistics guy run off and get with Maria, Kelly, Mylene, Jamila, then all of a sudden he'll sell it. Well, ladies, what you gonna do? What you going to do? Let's get to it.
Okay, that was Kevin Samuels on why modern women can't handle high-value men. He did raise some interesting points in his monologue. What did he say? He said, how is it that a woman is, a lot of Black women typically work very hard and they go and they get these degrees, but somehow, some way, they settle for the Pookies and the Ray Rays. Like they settle for the guy who's the gangster, who's the thug, who's not as educated, knowing that that guy is not necessarily intellectually on her level, but at the same time, she puts out to the universe that she's looking for a man who is on her level, right? She wants a man who makes a certain amount of money, but that's not really who she generally gives her time of day to. She generally gives her time of day to a guy that she knows is substantially intellectually not on her level. He said, do you think that's happening by surprise or is it happening by design? If it's happening by design, one of the motives that he proposes is the fact that those women like feeling superior to their men. They like being able to say, I got a degree, but you don't. Fellas, it may come up in a fight where she try to level set you, trying to remind you that you a little ninja. You know what I'm saying? You're not on her level. You're a little guy. You know what I mean? She's surpass you, educationally. And that's what I say is often what's wrong with our sisters is that they'll weaponize their education to make their person feel small as if they are more accomplished than that person. And therefore they should have the last say. They should have the decision-rearing powers. And that's not to say that as a man, you should feel intimidated by your woman's education. But at the same time, if you take the position of a leader, then you have to understand how to allow her space to express herself, and at the same time assert your position as the leader, or your authority, or your position as the head of the household. And I think there's a way for that to happen respectfully. And sometimes, our ladies will try certain men who don't know how to leverage, that type of relationship, who don't know how to win a debate with them because they've been trained through their education to debate you and to be right. And this is why he goes back to shame, insults, and the need to be right are some of the things that hinders a lot of our sisters from keeping relationships, because a lot of men eventually just get tired of it and walk away, right? But the question is, why choose a person that isn't on your level in the first place. And what he's saying is that's happening deliberately. That's not just happening because it's a coincidence. If every guy you give the time of day to tends to be, you know what I'm saying, not particularly on your level intellectually, it's not necessarily the guy that you knew in law school. It's somebody else, right? It's somebody else that you're dating that's probably got a few baby mothers outside and moving around and could be a trapper. You don't know what it is. But the point is, why would your judgment, your educated judgment, allow you to choose that as the person of interest? And that's where you got to say the man's kind of right. He's valid. There's some valid points there. You know what I mean? So what say you, though? You know, I open the floor for you guys to kind of weigh in on his assertion that women choose these modern educated women tend to choose these men who are not on their educational level because they want to be able to say they have one up on them. I buy my own this, I'm independent, I'm this, I'm that, just so you could flex on a man to make him feel small. I think he's on to something. But if y'all disagree, definitely weigh in on the comments. If you're not already a subscribed member, like and subscribe and stay connected. All right, guys. Yours truly, Mr. B, signing off. Be well. Peace.